Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Business, Finance, and Justice Committee meeting. Today is April 22nd, 2022. I call this meeting to order at 3 p.m. Invocation, I'm actually going to provide that today, if you'll stand. Father, I just thank you for this day and thank you for this opportunity to be here. Father, you know what's been on my heart this week, and it's been the mental health of not only of our people, but everyone. So, Father, I'm just so thankful that we have a tribe who cares about our people and their mental well-being. So, Father, I just pray over the behavioral health clinic that we'll be getting for our people soon. And, Father, for those that in our outlying areas, Father, I just pray that we give them an opportunity also to have some sort of care. So, Father, again, I'm thankful for a tribe who cares about their people. Father, I just pray that you'll be with us and guide us throughout this meeting, that you'll give us knowledge and direction and guidance. And Father, what we decide today, Father, let it be for the betterment of our people and our nation. I just ask all these things in your most precious name. Amen. Roll call, Legislative Clerk April Lindsay.
Patrick Freeman. Sandra Golden. Randall Hicks. Thomasine Yahola Osborne.
Present.
Mark Randolph.
Present.
Madam Chair, you've got 4 present and 1 absent.
We have 4 present and 1 absent. This constitutes a quorum. All business conducted will be official. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes of March 17th, 2022. I'll give the committee time to review and entertain a motion when the committee is ready.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes with any changes necessary.
Representative Hicks makes a motion to approve the minutes with any changes necessary.
Second.
I have a second from Representative Randolph. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Randall Hicks.
Yes.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 3 in favor and 0 against.
We have 3 in favor, 0 against. The minutes of March the 17th, 2022 are approved. Next item on the agenda is order of business.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to move NCA 2022-046, NCA 22-042, NCA 22-043 to the bottom of the agenda following NCA 22-050.
I have a motion from Representative Randolph to move NCA 22-042, 043, and 046 to the bottom of the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Representative Hicks. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Randall Hicks.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 3 in favor and 0 against.
We have 3 in favor and 0 against to move NCA 22-042, 043, 046 to the bottom of the agenda after NCA 22-050. Next item on the agenda is NCR 22-008. A resolution of the Muskogee Creek National Council selecting Chester Pittman to the Board of Directors of Fountainhead Creek Golf Course, LLC. Sponsor is Representative Randall Hicks.
Madam Chair, motion do pass.
We have a motion for due pass from Representative Hicks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Representative Freeman seconded the motion. Discussion?
Madam Chair, we do have Mr. Chester Pittman in the audience if you'd like to hear from him or...
Mr. Pittman? Sir, if you'll come to the podium, if you'll introduce yourself and give us a brief history of yourself and why you want to be on the Board of Directors.
Sure. Chester Pittman. I've been in education for about 30 years, involved in golf. I'm from Eufaula. Fountainhead's been my course for about 40 years, so I'm very familiar with that area. maybe have an opportunity to help them in any way I can to get the course up to speed or maybe better. Anything I can do to make it better. Very familiar with it. So being in education and also coach golf and play golf and kind of what we do, but just to see if we can make it a better place. Anything I can do to help.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pittman, what we're going to be doing is, in order to allow the full council to ask questions,
Sure.
what we're going to ask you to do is, we're going to ask you to come back to the pre-agenda meeting on Saturday, April the 30th at 9 a.m. in the auditorium here. So we appreciate you coming. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Roll call vote, please.
Randall Hicks,
Yes.
Mark Randolph,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 3 in favor and 0 against.
We have 3 in favor, 0 against. NCR 22-008 passes. NCR 22-009, a resolution of the Muskogee Creek National Council confirming Rita E. Courtwright to serve on the Muskogee Media Editorial Board. Sponsor, Patrick Freeman.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to postpone to the next meeting.
We have a motion from Representative Freeman to postpone until the next meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Representative Hicks. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Randall Hicks,
Yes.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 3 in favor and 0 against.
We have 3 in favor and 0 against to put NCR 22-009 onto the next meeting. TR 22-071, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation confirming the nomination of Luann Hudson to serve on the Muskogee Loan Fund Board. Sponsor is Representative Mark Randolph.
Motion do pass.
We have a motion for due pass from Representative Randolph. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Representative Hicks. Discussion? Ms. Hudson? Good afternoon, Ms. Hudson. If you could bring that microphone down if you need to.
Is that better?
If you'll just introduce yourself and tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself, please.
Sure, sure. My name is Luann Hudson, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I'm a commercial loan officer for Bank of Oklahoma, and I work from the Muskogee location. I've been there about 25 and a half years. I started out in business development and became a commercial loan officer. So I work with a lot of large clients there. And I would just like to say it's been my privilege to serve on the board for the Muskogee Loan Fund since 2016. We assist Muskogee citizens in both business and commercial loan and consumer loans. In 2017, we hired Chris Coburn as the new CFO, and he quickly brought much needed organization, hiring Robbie, Gayleen, and Eric to the team in 2018. He has trained the staff to become very efficient. Everyone has received certification from the American Bankers Association. And I don't know if you know who they all are, but would you all care to stand, the members of our team? They have done an outstanding job. So we're real proud of them. The team has provided over 35 training sessions for Creek Nation citizens in Okmulgee, Muskogee, Okemah, Tulsa, Glenpool, and Sapulpa. And over 2,000 persons have attended training sessions, both in person and online. And I would just like to say that I've had a chance to attend some of those training sessions in Muskogee. And if you ever get a chance, please go. They're extremely organized. There's an agenda with a lot of really competent speakers, and you'll be very impressed. The class that I attended, I think they had about 20 citizens in attendance. These classes provide teaching on how to write business plans. They teach them accounting procedures and how to run a successful business. And Chris has modeled the Muskogee Loan Fund using best practices from other successful native Cdfi groups. The team has done approximately 881 loans totaling $2.8 million. And when we first started out, most of these loans were, you know, $3,000, $5,000, $8,000, and now they're like $20 and $30 and $40 and $50,000. So they've done really a great job. And we hope to hit the 3 million marker amount by year end 22. Will be the largest lending year that we've had yet. And they have done about 572,000 in consumer loans, and most of them are Christmas loans with payroll deductions for payments. So I think that we've been in existence long enough that probably pretty much every Creek Nation citizen has learned about the Muskogee Loan Fund. I think they all get notices that these loans are available in the Christmas time, and every year that amount increases that participate. And I would just like for you all to know that the delinquency rate is below 2% of our loans, which is an outstanding amount, outstanding. So I would like for each of you to know how much our board appreciates the success and our team has brought to the Muskogee Loan Fund. It's been pretty much a complete turnaround since 2017. So thanks for the opportunity to consider me serving a longer term.
Thank you, Ms. Hudson.
Thank you.
As I stated earlier to Mr. Pittman, again, to give the full council an opportunity to ask you questions, if you'll come back to the pre-agenda on Saturday, April 30th at 9 a.m. Roll call vote, please.
Mark Randolph,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Randall Hicks.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 3 in favor and 0 against.
We have 3 in favor and 0 against. TR 22-071 passes. TR 22-072, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation approving the United States Department of Treasury Community Development Financial Institutions Fund Assistance Agreement terms and conditions for the benefit of the Muskogee Loan Fund. Sponsor, Representative Mark Randolph.
Motion do pass.
We have a motion for due pass from Representative Randolph.
Second.
We have a second from Representative Hicks. Representative Randolph.
Give a little time to Mr. Christopher Coburn, please.
Mr. Coburn, if you'll come to the podium, please.
Thank you very much. This is one of our annual awards we compete with other Cdfi funds across the country. This is $646,000, I believe, is the amount of this grant that will be used predominantly for lending capital. We've exhausted previous grants from U.S. Treasury Cdfi Fund, and so we need this passed so that we can get it through finance and make it available to make the loans that are waiting on those funds.
Thank you, Mr. Coburn.
Thank you.
Any questions from the committee? Any questions from the council representatives online or in attendance? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mark Randolph,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Sandra Golden. Oh, sorry. Randall Hicks.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 3 in favor and 0 against.
We have 3 in favor, 0 against. TR 22-072 passes.
No.
TR 22-074, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing the principal chief to submit a U.S. Department of Justice Bureau of Justice Assistance FY 2022 body-worn camera policy and implementation program to support law enforcement agencies' grant application. Sponsor, Representative Mark Randolph.
Motion do pass.
We have a motion for due pass from Representative Randolph.
Second.
We have a second from Representative Freeman. Discussion?
Give some time to Chief Phillips, please.
Chief Phillips, if you'll come to the podium.
Good afternoon, committee. The reason we're asking for the body-worn cameras. Closer. How about now? Can you hear me now? Okay. The reason we're asking for more body worn cameras, we're increasing our officers. And of course, you know, the way it is out there, that way we can help with complaints and things of that nature for our officers and for officer safety. So since we have more officers, we need more cameras.
Thank you, Chief Phillips. Any questions from the committee? Any questions from the representatives in attendance or online? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mark Randolph,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Randall Hicks,
Yes.
Sandra Golden. Madam Chair, you got 3 in favor, 0 against, and 1 abstention.
We have 3 in favor, 0 against, and 1 abstention. TR 22-074 passes.
Go.
NCA 22-044, a law of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing the expenditure of the U.S. Department of Treasury Community Development Financial Institutions Fund Assistance Agreement Grant for the benefit of the Muskogee Loan Fund. Sponsors Mark Randolph.
Motion to pass.
We have a motion for due pass from Representative Randolph.
Second.
We have a second from Representative Randall Hicks. Discussion?
Mr. Coburn, would you like to speak or send a representative? Okay. Thank you.
Any questions from the committee? Any questions from the representatives online or in attendance? Roll call vote, please.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Patrick Freeman. Sandra Golden. Randall Hicks.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
We have 4 in favor, 0 against. NCA 22-044 passes. NCA 22-049, a law of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing the expenditure of the U.S. Department of Justice FY 2022 targeted support for the Muskogee Creek, Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, and Seminole Nations in Oklahoma. Special invitation to apply grant award for the benefit of the Muskogee Creek Nation Light Horse Police Department. Sponsor, Representative Patrick Freeman.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for due pass.
We have a motion from Representative Freeman for due pass. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Representative Hicks. Discussion?
Madam Chair, Chief Phillips, you want to talk about this particular piece?
Thank you, committee. With the passing of this grant, it'll allow us to hire 2 more investigators for our department, which will give us a total of 14 that we'll have out in the field. That's why we're asking for this grant.
Thank you, Chief Phillips. Any questions from the committee? Any questions from the representatives in attendance or online? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Sandra Golden. Randall Hicks.
Yes.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
We have 4 in favor, 0 against. NCA 22-049 passes.
Middle.
NCA 22-050, a law of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing a supplemental appropriation to the Muskogee Creek Nation Secretary of the Nation and Commerce FY 2022 budget. Sponsor is Representative Patrick Freeman.
I make a motion for due pass.
We have a motion from Representative Freeman for due pass. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Representative Randolph. Representative Freeman.
Madam Chair, I'd like to give some time to Mr. Fye.
Good afternoon. Thank you, committee, Representative Freeman. This supplemental appropriation would allow for the hiring and creation of a Deputy Secretary of Nation Commerce. We've found ourselves in a position of need based on the activity of that division as acting when Ms. Branson departed. There were the option left for the chief was to appoint an acting commissioner or secretary, excuse me. I feel that with the creation or the funding, we can create a deputy secretary and allow for a smoother transition. As you're aware, Secretary of Nation Commerce is the administrator of a majority of the grants, and our budget, annual budget, relies heavily on annual grants. So,
Thank you, Mr. Five. Any questions from the committee? Representative Golden?
Is the position for Secretary of Commerce, that was as a field, or is it going to be filled, and do you have any claim on that?
I do anticipate it to be filled. The time frame, I think we need to approach that with a bit of caution. Select the best qualified applicant that can step into that role. As it is today, I'm the acting Secretary of Nation Commerce and rely on Zechariah Harjo as he had longevity in the department. He's most familiar with the activity that was going on.
So, I guess my question for clarification has to do with the amount of people that you had before. You haven't replaced that yet, but then you have you want to put another position in there. And how long have you been there to assess that and to decide on what you need now?
I've been the acting Secretary of Nation for about 2 weeks. This morning when I visited with staff, I was advised there was only one position that's open. And 2, if you include the vacancy of Secretary of Nation.
Okay. Well, I just have a comment about, we had a legislation last month, earlier, in regard to increase in a pay increase for all of the employees, and we were told that they couldn't sustain it with, and they said we didn't have enough money to do that over a period of time. And so I'm just wondering how it shakes out. And that's why I asked the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Golden. Committee, any more questions? Representative Hicks?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just curious, Mr. Fife, I don't know if you have the same paperwork that we have. There's a FY22 flat and a FY22 expanded. You don't have that one? Okay, I was just going to ask you, which one are we going by, the flat, expanded? And then the other question I have is, in the expanded, there's fees for $50,000 and sponsorship for $50,000. I was just going to ask what that was about.
There are multiple fees associated with memberships to, and I don't want to misspeak. Zechariah may correct me after I state this, but INCOG, several chambers of commerces require contributions from the nation, and that has historically been funded through Secretary of Nation Commerce.
Madam Chair. Mr. Darnell.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Darnell, when the budgets were approved, did we approve the 22 flat or the 22 expanded version?
we approved the flat budget.
Okay, we expanded the flat, but on this one, we're wanting to go by the expanded version, correct?
I looked at this, I didn't agree this back to the previously expanded budget submitted.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, yeah.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Committee, any more questions? Are there any questions from the representatives in attendance or online?
Yes, Madam Chair. This is Representative Marshall.
Representative Marshall, go ahead.
I have a question on that, and Mr. Fife alluded to that as well about the deputy secretary. If I remember correctly, did we not vote in December to eliminate the deputy secretary positions? And if so, then how do we justify the deputy secretary position in this instance? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Marshall. Representative Freeman?
I think this budget is, there's a revised budget of this that I just got informed, so we table this, do we have the revised budget?
You can make that motion.
Representative Golden made a motion to table this until
Next month?
next month. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Representative Sandra Golden to table NCA 22-050 till next month. We have a second from Representative Freeman. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Sandra Golden,
Yes.
Randall Hicks,
Yes.
Mark Randolph,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
We have 4 in favor and 0 against to table NCA 22-050 until next month.
Make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
We have a motion from Representative Randolph to go into executive session. We have a second from Representative Golden. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mark Randolph,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Sandra Golden,
Yes.
Randall Hicks.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
We have 4 in favor, 0 against to go into executive session. The time is 3:29. Representative Golden, Representative Randolph, who do you want to stay in? Okay, we're out of executive session and we'll go into our order of business, and that is NCA 22-042, a law of the Muskogee Creek Nation amending MCNCA Title 36, Chapter 3, entitled Motor Vehicle Tax and License Code. Sponsor is Representative Sandra Golden.
Motion for due pass.
We have a motion for due pass from Representative Golden. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Representative Randolph. Discussion? Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Sandra Golden,
Yes.
Randall Hicks,
Yes.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 3 in favor and 0 against.
We have 3 in favor, 0 against. NCA 22-042 passes. At this time, I relinquish the chair to Vice Chairwoman Golden.
We had to do 43 legislation.
Oh, I'm sorry. We've got
43 yet.
We've got one more. I'm sorry. We've got NCA 22-043, a law of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing the expenditure of the American Rescue Plan Act fiscal recovery funding for the benefit of the Fountainhead Creek Golf Course. Sponsor is Representative Sandra Golden.
Motion for due pass.
We have a motion for due pass from Representative Golden. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Representative Hicks. Representative Golden?
Is Steve Fox available? Give him some time to explain.
Hello. What we're trying to do is replace the pump station at the golf course that supplies the water to all the sprinkler heads out on the golf course. This pump station is about 19 years old at this point. And when all the COVID stuff first happened, the golf course closed down for 2 to 3 months. This thing's set, unused, unmaintained, no greasing of the pumps, no oil installed in it, and it caused some damage to it. And with that and the use, and then the winter time that we had kind of compounded that a little bit. And it's to the point where, I mean, it's ran its course for us there. I had a guy out today to replace a part just so we could keep using it currently to water the golf course. And he rattled off 4 or 5 more things that were needed done. And I was like, just, you can give me a quote, but don't do anything until we figure out what direction we're going to go. But it's getting to the point now where it's costing us more money to maintain this pump station than it's worth almost.
Thank you. Representative Randolph?
It kind of leads into my question. How profitable is this, is Fountainhead?
Well, I just did my second quarter report. This year, we have doubled the revenues over the previous 4 years through that same 6 months. So, I mean, we're trending in a much better direction than we were before. I mean, as far as it supporting itself 100%, I mean, that would take a lot to happen. I mean, just where we're at with the population around us that plays golf, I mean, that's a far stretch for us without us having some way to draw more people down to that area.
Does that include do you know all the appropriations that the nation has given to Fountainhead or the sponsor? Do you know that?
No, I do not.
That was a question I had sent to you.
Yeah, we talked about that, but
since
neither one
I've
of us.
been there in June of 20, the only thing that I've came in for was for some equipment we got, which we pay for out of the revenues there of that we make on site. But I mean, other than outside of that, before I've been there, no, sir, I'm not aware. Nope.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Representative Hicks?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Really not a question, just kind of want to make a comment. I do know at Fountainhead, there are a lot of there are some improvement that needs to be made, and they need the equipment and so forth. But this funding is actually coming from ARPA, so it's not costing the tribe anything. But along with that, I was out there 2 or 3 weeks ago. They actually had a high school tournament, and just to see the Native American boys and girls participating in this tournament, it made me happy to see them. And then at my meeting the other night at the Okeem Indian community, one of the parents was there and made the comment that 2 of her daughters actually won or made it to the state tournament in golf. So golf is starting to be a more popular event for our Native American students, and actually there's a lot of scholarships out there for our Native American students. So I know Fountainhead hasn't always been the moneymaker, and it may never be the moneymaker. Golf is a hard business to make money, but I don't know. I just wanted to share that as far as our Native Americans actually participating in something and doing well. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative Randolph.
And there's also, to go along with what Randall said there, it's just a funny thing because we had a 3-club tournament. It's a special kind of little fun deal. And Randall came down that day, and there were several others there that we saw so many Native Americans show up that hadn't been there to play golf that now I've seen them since that day. They've been coming back. They're asking, when's the next tournament? When's this? So that's a good thing. I mean, because they're getting a discounted rate to be there for being citizens and stuff. And so, I mean, it's good to have it there for them. I mean, I understand from the money standpoint, but this, me and Mrs. Golden had talked, and unless we have something to just draw a tremendous amount of people down there, it would be very hard for us to ever fund ourselves 100%. We're making a much bigger dent in that funding this year, and I think we'll continue to do that to where we could start asking for less tribal funds to operate, but 100% would take a while if it was ever possible.
Representative Randolph, go ahead.
One more question. Do we own the land?
No, it is on a lease.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Representative Golden?
Mr. Fox, you said that this is just for the improvement for the pump, and so we have to have this maintained before we can move forward and make the money, correct?
Yes, this is for the irrigation pump that pumps all the water to all the sprinkler heads on the golf course. I mean, without being able to water, I mean, we won't have suitable greens, tee boxes, fairways. We won't have anything. Okay. And we have to be able to water that stuff.
Thank you.
Committee, any more questions? Is there any questions from the representatives in attendance? Speaker Lowe.
Chair, thank you, ma'am. I would just say, just like Representative Hicks was mentioning, at one time when I was at tourism, I was over Fountainhead, and I understand it's a hard job out there. The tribe's always going to have another amenity to come in. We always try to keep Fountainhead running, because if we ever score that big business out there, we can have a golf course to accommodate that. And if you've ever been there, you are only going there to play golf. There's no other reason why you're out there unless you're backroading around out there, So I would say with Steve's group, they do a lot with the little, because it's like every year their budget gets cut 10%. And when you keep doing that, that's people who can no longer be out there to work, to cut grass. And, there's a lot of moving parts out there just so someone can go hit a ball in a hole. There's a lot going on that we don't see. And I just, want to commend his group, because, one thing, they do a lot with the little. And I appreciate you guys, and I hope the support is there for this. And again, it's ARPA money. So that was a great point earlier. So, Mado, Steve.
Thank you, Speaker Lowe. Is there any other questions from the representatives in attendance or online? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Sandra Golden,
Yes.
Randall Hicks,
Yes.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 3 in favor and 0 against.
We have 3 in favor, 0 against. NCA 22-043 passes. At this time, I'd like to relinquish the chair to Chairwoman Golden.
Thank you. NCA 22-046, a law of the Muskogee Creek Nation amending MCNCA, Title 36, Chapter 3, entitled Motor Vehicle Tax and License Code. Sponsor, Thomasine Yehola Osborne.
Chairman, I make a motion for due pass.
We have a motion by Thomasine Yehola Osborne for a due pass.
Second.
Second by Mark Randolph. Thomasine. Executive session. Discussion. I'm sorry. Ms. Osborne? No discussion? Okay, so we've already discussed this. We'll call for roll call vote, please.
Thomasine Yehola Osborne,
Yes.
Randall Hicks,
Yes.
Mark Randolph,
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 3 in favor and 0 against.
3 in favor and 0 against. NCA 22-046 has passed. Have another? I relinquish the chair back to Chairperson Osborne.
Thank you, Representative Golden. Next item on the agenda is referred legislation. We have 3 pieces of referred legislation: NCA 22-037, NCA 22-038, NCA 22-047. Mr. Darnell, would you provide the funding source, please, for each of these?
Yes, funds are available for NCA 22-037 from the interest on permanent fund. Funds are available for NCA 22-038 from the interest on permanent fund. And funds are available for NCA 22-047 from the interest on permanent fund.
Funding source for all 3 referred legislation is interest from the permanent fund. Do I have a motion to approve these funding sources?
Make a motion to approve the funding sources.
We have a motion from Representative Randolph to approve the funding source. Do I have a second? We have a second from Representative Golden. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Sandra Golden.
Yes.
Randall Hicks.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 3 in favor and 0 against.
We have 3 in favor, 0 against. NCA 22-037, 38, and 047 will be funded by interest on the permanent fund. Down to other business.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to add NCA 22-052 and TR 22-077 to the agenda. Okay. Strike TR 22-077. Thank you.
I have a motion to add NCA 22-052 by Representative Randolph. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Representative Hicks. NCA 22 I'm sorry. Discussion on adding the funding source.
Just adding to the agenda for action.
Oh, I'm sorry. Adding this to the agenda for action, please. Roll call vote. Roll call vote, please.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Sandra Golden.
Yes.
Randall Hicks.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 3 in favor and 0 against.
We have 3 in favor, 0 against to add NCA 22-052. NCA 22-052. A law of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing a lawsuit to be filed in federal court in the name of the Muskogee Creek Nation is seeking relief on behalf of the nation and Muskogee citizens against unlawful state taxation within the boundaries of the Muskogee Creek Nation Reservation and appropriating funds for this action. Sponsor, Representative Mark Randolph.
Motion do pass.
We have a motion for due pass from Representative Randolph. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Representative Hicks. Discussion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to ask co-sponsor, or the sponsor, if I could be a co-sponsor.
Yes.
Representative Hicks asked to be a co-sponsor. Any discussion? Representative Randolph, I'd also like to be a co-sponsor. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mark Randolph.
Yes.
Sandra Golden.
No.
Randall Hicks.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you got 2 in favor and 1 against.
We have 2 in favor, 1 against. NCA 22-052 passes. Next item on the agenda is gaming. Want to hear from gaming and their report, please. Mr. Ray?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, BF&J members and other council members online, and any members of the executive branch in attendance. The MNGE LLC board, we're currently comprised of 4 members, that being Mr. Jeff McCoy, Mr. Kevin Agee, Mr. Jason Harjo, and myself. Our ex officio for this respective board is Representative Hicks, Randall Hicks. At last night's board meeting, resumes for the 5th member for our board were distributed to the board members, and we will spend the rest of this week reviewing those resumes to select which candidates we want to interview for that 5th seat. And we did have 10 individuals submit resumes for that respective position. Since my last report in March, the board has conducted 3 regular meetings and 1 special meeting. Those occurred on March the 30th, April 6th, April 13th, and April 20th. And all meetings were held at River Spirit Casino in the mezzanine classrooms. Financials for the month of March have been finalized. CEO Pat Crofts should have distributed those to the BF&J Committee and the National Council in his summary financial and tribal employment reports presentation. March financial performance remained strong for our gaming enterprises. Operating income for the month of March was $21.5 million. Distribution to the nation was 17.7. That happens to be our 2nd largest monthly distribution ever made. The largest distribution that we've made was 18 million, and that was in March of 2021. Distributions to the nation for the first 6 months of this fiscal year have totaled 74.2 million, which exceeds the first 6 months of the previous fiscal year by 4.7 million. Per CEO Pat Crofts, our business levels remain strong at all properties through mid-April, and we expect another very good month. Similar to March, April is trending with revenues exceeding projected budget levels, but they are slightly lower than prior year, and prior year was a record year for us. Staffing issues related to COVID been very minuscule. We've only had 1 positive employee case over the last 6 weeks. So there are no issues with staffing levels as it relates to that. Our Native American employment remains strong at 43% of our total workforce. Muskogee Creek citizens account for 26% of our total workforce, and they account for approximately 1/3 of all of our salaried and supervisory positions. As of the end of March, our total employee count was 1,963. Moving on to capital improvement projects. One of the major projects that we recently completed was the new Tulsa admin building. This building in its new location houses security, our employment center, our facilities department, transportation, the Office of Public Gaming. It also provides centralized document storage and a centralized receiving and warehousing facility for our gaming enterprise. Most of you know the location, but it was constructed on the north end of the River Spirit Casino Resort property. And basically it replaced the original Creek Nation Bingo, Creek Nation Casino Tulsa building, the old casino as we referred to it. The old casino building was demolished and that area is being converted to an employee parking lot. Other projects that we've recently completed, we renovated and refurbished the Okima Casino. That was completed in December of 2021. That project, we made significant improvements to upgrades to both the interior and exterior of that facility with a new parking lot on the north side of the facility. And the initial returns on that investment have been very well received. We're also in the process of renovating the Muskogee casino site. The first phase involved reconstruction of the flood control channel and site improvements. That included realigning and completely covering the drainage stream that basically divides or bisects that property between the casino and the travel plaza. The construction of that channel and the adjacent paved parking areas have been completed, and there's just some site cleanup work that remains as it relates to that phase. We are currently evaluating the consolidation of the travel plaza and casino facilities, possibly into one new facility on the improved site. Feasibility studies are being updated, as well as design and costing for a second phase as it relates to that renovation and possible expansion. These plans will be presented to the National Council fully developed. We also recently completed the process of rebranding and upgrading of the Muskogee Travel Plaza. The reopening of the Travel Plaza Casino is scheduled for May the 16th. That opening's been delayed for some time. We're hoping for the 16th, but it's been delayed because of the supply chain issues with our gaming machine vendors. Land directly across the highway from Highway 69 from the new Eufaula Medical Facility was recently taken into trust. This is the site where we hope to relocate the Eufaula Casino. That site's in the planning process. It could potentially include a larger casino, hotel, maybe restaurants and banquet areas. Initial feasibility studies have been completed. Those initial studies indicated that relocation of this site would significantly improve revenues, income, and distributions from the Eufaula Casino. But as everyone's aware of, construction and resource constraint issues have significantly increased the cost of new developments. So we're in the process of updating that feasibility study to better evaluate and make a decision as it relates to the size and scope of that respective property. Management continues working on the development of the Southernville mobile home park across from River Spirit Casino. Efforts are still being evaluated and the possibilities for development of this project. That includes working with a commercial developer or real estate broker to bring concepts and operators forward to be able to develop that respective site once economic conditions improve. Other issues or capital matters that we're working with the nation and various departments and personnel of the nation. Back to the Southernville Mobile Home Park, we've had some issues here lately with homeless encampments on that respective site. Our management team's working with Light Horse to control that area. Gaming is also working with the nation's emergency management department, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, consultants on a final flood mitigation plan for River Spirit Casino Resort. This plan will be incorporated into the nation's overall emergency and disaster recovery plans. Gaming, with the help of this group, has secured funding for the design and construction of the first phase of the plan. So kudos to all those involved in helping us with that flood mitigation plan for River Spirit Casino. One of the new things, or not really new, but it's came back up recently. One of the issues that we're working with the nation's tribal roads department and other personnel at the nation is the ongoing issue of traffic accidents there on Highway 75 at the entrance of the Duck Creek Casino. There seems to be an increasing number of accidents at this site. Over the years, numerous concepts have been discussed to try to solve that problem, including traffic lights, flashing lights, deceleration and acceleration lanes, turn lanes, reduced speed limits, etc. A consultant for the Tribal Roads Department recently reported discussing this with ODOT, And there has been some ideas on how to improve the safety at this respective crossover. That consultant reported that the next few months, the BIA was going to publish their safety funding for this year, and that Muskogee Creek Nation was planning on applying for safety funding to improve that respective crossover there at Highway 75 to make it safer for our employees and our patrons. As it relates to all of these capital projects and any expansion projects we have moving forward, the enterprise is continuously monitoring resource constraints and supply issues. These projects and tasks that I've just described may need to be adjusted or postponed because of some of the supply constraints. Gaming's also been working with OIGA on sports betting legislation. We provided information in our position to Fred Jordan, the nation's lobbyist. However, we recently learned that the issue was basically dead in the state house and the state senate for this year at the state legislature. So we will continue working on this at a future date. Our executive management team continues their weekly meetings with the Bank of Oklahoma finance team. These meetings occur to discuss and monitor our loan covenants and leverage ratios. We are compliant on those through March of 2022. And in closing, at last night's meeting, the board of directors, we approved an attorney services agreement with Tiger Law, and then also approved an engagement letter with BKD to perform our annual 401k audit. MNGE's next board of directors meeting is scheduled for 6 p.m. May the 4th at River Spirit Casino in the mezzanine classroom. And Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Is there
Very
any,
welcome.
Is there any questions from the committee regarding the gaming report? Any questions from the representatives online or in person? Okay, Mr. Ray, we appreciate you and what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Before we go any further, Mr. Darnell, can you provide a funding source for NCA 22-052, please?
Yes, Chair, that funding's available for this NCA from the Interest on Permanent Fund.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next item under other business, Muskogee Nation Business Enterprise. Ms. McCutcheon, thank you for being here. Would you introduce your sidekicks here?
Yes, I will.
Just so we'll know who they are.
This is Mr. Clint Wilson. He is our board chairman, and Miss Lisa Spencer, who is our chief financial officer.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee, and members who are here and also on the line. Would you like me to just jump into the operational? Some major operational initiatives that Muskogee Nation Business Enterprise has been focused on is actually the closeout and the wind down of this business entity. We did finally receive the final of our FY21 independent auditors report just today, and am happy to say that we have wound down that business and restructured its operating entities with the least exposure and liabilities possible. And with those restructurings, the independent auditor's report for Muskogee Nation Businesses LLC will demonstrate to you all when you receive that copy at a $1.1 million in profit over the 21 ending year. So with that, for Muskogee Nation Business Enterprise, we are ready to work with National Counsel, our legal counsel, our auditors on how to successfully repeal NCA 9910 and move assets and liabilities to the holding company structure to close out that entity for good. Right now, because of the way that the law is written, we do currently still have a board there, but there's no business activity, and that's why it continues to demonstrate just a loss. To give you a brief update for Muskogee Nation businesses, this has multiple subsidiary companies. The bulk of the reporting comes from our 8A company, which is Muskogee Staffing Solutions. And you may recall at the end of the last fiscal year, we did have 5 government awards in our federal sector. For the commercial side, it has really been a lot of fluctuations. You will see within our numbers for this quarter that we are down in a bit of placements, and that is majorly contributed to a large commercial contract that we had to end in the last couple of months. And we were very fortunate that that contract did come about during the pandemic because it was for our citizens who did fill those placements. We're building respiratory care machines that came to us as a recommendation from the Secretary of the Nation, Mr. Sean Terry, and we were able to fill those positions for the respiratory care company that helped to keep individuals off of life support, in which in ordinary cases they wouldn't be able to fully recover from. So that contract did end as the cases in COVID went down. So you do see some lower placements there with that contract ending. What you will see is a constant rise in the federal placements as we begin to onboard and staff those federal contracts that we were successful in capturing at the end of 2021, and we'll continue to see those numbers to rise. At the end of March, this last quarter, our focus for the entire quarter had been solely on execution of those government contracts. Only a small part of the success was in winning in them, and now the real success is going to lie in the execution of those. So what you will see in our numbers is that as task orders begin to come available under those IDIQs, our numbers will rise in placements, as will profitability. I had some interesting statistics from the Department of State at the end of quarter 2. At the end of March 22, at the time of this report, the current number coming out of the Department of State was 34 task order requests for quotes. Muskogee Nation was able to capture 17, so essentially half of those task orders coming out were captured by Muskogee Staffing. So we were excited about that. We have also received word over the last couple of days that we're all ready with the capture of those because these are a base plus 4 option years that we have quoted that Department of State is currently looking at issuing another $100 million contract so that we can still be able to provide services to them once we max out the 75. Looking ahead, Muskogee Staffing Solutions did receive the 8A STARS contract. So we are currently marketing to all the government buyers who can purchase from that contract vehicle, as well as continuing all of our bidding efforts. So to close out the quarter for quarter 2, we submitted 14 submissions for federal contracts, and they're all in various stages of the evaluation process. One of our struggling subsidiaries, I'm jumping forward to Muskogee Asset Protection. This subsidiary has just seen a constant decrease in revenue since the pandemic, and that is partially because a lot of the business entities that they service and provide equipment to were closed during the pandemic, and so they are trying to rebound from that. I am happy to report, though, that at the end of last week, they did receive their Hub Zone certification, and they are focused and on track in progress right now for filing for their 8A certification. There is not a lot to report under Muskogee Business Services. This subsidiary is actually it captures some of the services that were left from the former Trade and Commerce, so just the drug screening services. And so the overall conclusion of our operational report is that we continue to be focused to capture more revenue. We are in the process of spinning out more subsidiaries and more 8A companies. The goal is to have multiple companies capturing the sizes of work and contracts that we have been able to do so with Muskogee Staffing Solutions. Our board has reviewed several opportunities that have come about. Some of them have recently been investment opportunities, as well as other government contracting companies wanting to team or to pursue joint ventures. So I know that they have several of those in the due diligence process and are continuing to vet those. In addition to that, they have also been in several conversations regarding the nation's holding company, One Fire, and whether or not that merger may or may not take place, or what the nation's pleasure would be to do as far as our role in that, if any. That concludes the operational report. If you all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those, or Lisa will be able to demonstrate the financials.
Committee, are there any questions for Ms. McCutcheon? Representative Golden?
Yes, Ms. McCutcheon, you mentioned the One Fire and impending possibility of One Fire going under or transitioning to that. Does that impact MNBE? How?
We have met on multiple occasions prior to the new council taking seat. We did present a plan, I believe, back in December with Secretary Branson Thomas. I think that there was a concern as we're finally beginning to see MNB reach the levels of progress that it has seen, and not wanting to disrupt that. But also, you know, I think personally, there is still a need for this nation to have an investment company to review opportunities. One of the opportunities that we have on the table now would be an investment. Those investments need to be structured carefully, separate from your 8A government contracting dollars. So I don't see it impacting what we're currently doing. And the reason for that is I know the board has discussed this at great length. That would require them to find individuals within the expertise of finance and investment to, even if it did come under that same umbrella, to manage those specific subsidiaries. It wouldn't, you know, necessarily be under my purview, someone with the expertise in that area. So I think that would be their plan, and Mr. Wilson could probably speak better than me speaking for the board on that. Do you have any? But we haven't exactly seen clear direction what the nation wants our involvement to be in this. Before I turn it over to Clint, I did attend a meeting, and I just feel like I want to say this on behalf of One Fire last Tuesday. Those employees are facing a lot of uncertainty, that they felt like they were only going to be dealing with that for a certain amount of time, and about 3 times over it's been extended. I think, you know, Ms. Severson is really hanging in there, but she's carrying a load. So there was an expression of
concern,
feeling overwhelmed. So I don't know if you would like us to revise that plan and bring it forward, but I will let the chairman speak on that for a moment, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Ms. McCutcheon. So we have, like Ms. McCutcheon has mentioned, we'd spoken to the past secretary, Ms. Branson. I believe we've spoken to some council members as well in the past. We're fully committed to helping out the tribe in any way possible. But to clearly answer your question, I believe the investments and the type of businesses is more, it's not necessarily like our staffing, so it doesn't take as many people. But the setup, as far as what we would be receiving, I believe that audit is crucial. So we don't know necessarily what all we'd be receiving. I think there was some discussion on some of the companies within One Fire. So we're not really sure what would be coming over. And we'd like to give that written, if the committee would like a written statement on what we would recommend in order to fit within our company. Because as you noticed in our operation report, as Mr. Cushion stated, we've the goal was to get into the 8A company, that type of business. And if you see our numbers going down on certain commercial businesses, but going up in federal, that was the goal. So once we, I believe with our management, once we get a plan in place, we can definitely execute. So if the committee would like our written statement on what we would propose in that transfer, we'd be more than happy to provide that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Would like.
Any other questions from the committee? Any questions from the representatives in attendance or online? Okay. Thank you. We appreciate it. Next item under other business is Muskogee International LLC, but Mr. McCutcheon actually called me the other day and he could not be in attendance, but he did provide his report to us. Next item on the agenda is Muskogee Loan Fund. Mr. Coben, you mentioned earlier you were going to try and keep it 10 minutes or
well,
less.
we're finally happy to be invited back to the show. So there is some recap involved. So 10 minutes or 15 at the max. Yeah, that's my goal. So we can just go to slide 1, the success story slide and park there. There's a little bit of background I'd like to give you. Again, I'm Christopher Coburn. I'm the CEO of Muskogee Loan Fund Incorporated. We are a community development financial institution. The tribe started in 14. But I want you to look at that slide for a second, because success stories, what we do is about people. The community development side of what we do, the mission side, is about developing people's skills and changing the economics, really as small as the household, helping them with employment situations and others. So there's a few photos of loan closings and trainings of loans, current and past. But yesterday we closed a loan for a Native American Ag Foundation loan for a swine producer as a Native American citizen. I just put LB, which are his initials for anonymity. But he's a swine producer and he intends to sell pork to Loop Squared. So we've got the gentleman in the black t-shirt is one of the best barbecue places you will find in Tulsa. He's also a Creek citizen. And if we do an event, often he would cater. The young lady there, she is a person who's paid off her loan, and she started off as a daycare worker and could not get into management. And eventually we helped her buy a place and start her own. And she has now paid off her loan. The community is Wetumpka Indian community there on the right, and we help them finance that ice machine as economic development for the community, and they have now paid off that loan. And the bottom is one of those examples of classes we do that Mrs. Hudson alluded to earlier. Bottom right, in the middle is Tiger Carmen. He is a tribal employee, but he is bright as a tack and he loves to fish, and he invented a special type of jug for fishing, and now he's going to get himself in front of Bass Pro and Walmart and other areas, and so we financed a loan to kind of get him rolling. But just to give you a taste, the success stories we do depend a lot on our growing and improving our relationship with the tribal government so we can get where we want to go. So I wanted to show you those and kind of give you an idea about that. So we can go into the next slide, please. This is a long timeline. I don't want to dial into it too much. Just history, a twinkling in some council people's eyes and chief's eyes in 13, opened in 14, quickly got in distress. And for about a year and a half, the financials were bad. They had about 22 loans on the books when I came in July of 17, and 80% of the debt was bad. So those of you in the past that were involved in the council, I want to make sure you understand that is not who we are. What I'm about to tell you is how we've overcome it.
So over the years, we've expanded the culture to more of a training-based culture where both our staff and team, we're looking at best practices and how we become the best bankers we can be, but also for our community, what do those business owners need? What do those agribusiness clients need? What do those citizens need as far as to improve how they handle finances? So they're kind of getting an entrepreneurial mindset and not stuck in possibly in poverty or lack of opportunity. So that's the community development side of what we do, but we are very much a financial institution, but right now constrained within the tribal government as a department. And so that makes it tough to do what we do. In history, we've expanded lending, we expanded money, kind of a then and now, bottom left, bottom right, was worth about 1.2 million. Delinquency, that's how many people have debt but aren't paying, was about 73%. If you netted out the bad debt, it was worth about $240K in July of 17. Now we're about 2.8 million deployed. We'll cross 3 million this quarter, and our delinquency is under 2%, which that's as good or better than most banks and credit unions. So we're working with the most difficult credit challenged clients, but we're getting the same type of performance as major financial institutions. And that's a credit to our team and what we do. Next slide, if you can. So briefly, I want to talk to you kind of where we're trying to grow and evolve. And I got approached by some friends and nominated to be part of a nonprofit leadership postgraduate group 2 years ago. And Chief Floyd and Chief Hill have allowed me to continue doing that. So some of this data is coming out of that relationship. And next week, I'll go to Harvard and get that certificate. But we had access. I was like, the challenge that attracted them to us was the unique challenges of a tribal government and an emerging financial institution, and how do you grow that opportunity for the targeted people we serve? And we've got a lot of expert help to help us get here, but I wanted to kind of know what we're doing. The overall goal is expanding CDFI growth to serve all our people. And next slide, please. And just kind of a comparison, those are some of the national agencies that are in there with us. We've made it about 85% of our goal of expanding capital and doubling and tripling what we do as far as services. But, and then there's some others like Minnesota Community Development, they own a bank and they own a native CDFI as well. So there's a lot of peers that have given us some best practices. Next slide, please. So this is basically the heart of my challenge. It's a bullseye, a simplified graph of what all we're trying to tackle at once. So just look at the center and then the ring outside the center. So by 9 of 2022, we're to expand our capital, attracting lending capital by 3 times and double client services. And that's where we're 85% of goal. We've got about 5 different areas we need change and we need help. Some of them are systems. Some of them is adding staff. We have an urgent need to add 3 staff, and we've had several funding solutions not work with the tribe so far. We're hoping for a different one to come up, but we really need that to continue the growth to serve our citizen clients. We're increasing technical assistance, we're expanding types of lending, and we're attracting new capital. The aspirational growth of where Muskogee Loan Fund, according to our clients and others, is to be a freestanding, full-size depository institution at some point in the future. And we want to plan toward that if that's the will of the leadership of the tribal government. Next step. So there's catch some things. We're active, we've sustained growth, we're doubling and tripling volume of lending and in training. All our staff are highly efficient. We're American Banking Association trained with multiple certifications. And we're attracting more funds from outside sources year over year. So just a little bit of a bulk. In the center, we've got partnerships with multiple federal agencies. We're getting fee revenue from Small Business Administration as part of a Community Navigators project, where we're being paid to do what we do as far as technical assistance, advising people on small business goals, how to find things. We'll be having classes in our new location, which hopefully will have a grand opening next door to where we are now, which will be called the Native American Training Center. It'll be our own classroom space. So about 2,000 people collectively, both in person and online, have attended our courses since 2018. The far right's covered up by your text box there, so we're crossing 2.8 million in lending aggregate. About 3 million will cross this quarter. We're gonna cross 1 million in business loans alone this FY. And that's our little team of 4 of Robbie Deere, Eric Starr, and Gayleen Dixon. And I'm so proud to work alongside them. Next slide, please. So this is a lot of detail, but the main thing I want to tell you is FY22, those are annual loans dispersed, the left column. 419,000 was as of the end of March, and that's 5 of 12 fiscal months. We've nearly done, at that point, the highest annual lending of any time, and we're on track. We approved 4 loans recently, and I've got about 8 more in the queue if I can get the funding released as quickly as possible with what you possibly will pass the end of this month. But it's easier to understand in a graph. So that's maybe too much detail. So let's go to the next slide. But just trending, we've got loans dispersed, growth year over year. We've got total payments, that's who's paying us back, going back in the revolving fund so we can lend it again. And we've got loans closed. All of those things are trending higher, and we're going to hit over 1 million in lending this year. So that last piece of data is 5 months of a fiscal year, but it's going to cause us to blow off the top of the chart. Okay, next slide, please. This is more detail on Native American Ag Foundation lending, which is, we've contracted 712,000, almost 713,000 in capital. That's for agribusiness purposes. And we've deployed about half of that right now, and we're on track to deploy all of that before our next tranche of funding. It's also a great source of funding because they like us a lot, and we're eligible for up to $300,000 a year for the next 15 years. So we're going to keep that going. Next slide just shows a graph. That's a trend of the bottom are the dates of the awards of the different grants we've gotten so far, and then blue versus orange is what we have versus what we've spent. So our last grant was 327, and we've gotten a total at 700,000. So we're at about halfway point on spending on Native American Ag Foundation money. Next slide, please. Cdfi Fund. This is U.S. Treasury. The rules are very specific on reporting and what we do. So far, they've given us $1.56 million in grant capital for lending. And we just completed asking for FY23 money of $746,000. So we're moving through that money fast as we make business loans, and we're doing very well with that with very little delinquency. So next slide, please. Okay. Also, we started consumer lending in 2019. A lot of our employees across the tribe were utilizing and expressed concern about money being tied on the holidays, and a convenient, low-cost option where they could payroll deduct it. So we started 2019 with a pilot of that project, and in 6 hours, we just said, we'll try this with a little bit. We had 25,000 capital at the time. We blew through that money. And we also did what we call consumer pilots. These are unique loans for an emergency situation for a citizen or an employee. And we began doing those pilot tests of different types of loans, types of risk, to eventually have a full-blown consumer lending product, which we don't yet have. And then year over year, 20, we did more loans. 2020, we did another pilot. 2021, more individual lending. The volume was a bit down. That was also at the time when some of the COVID relief was coming into from the federal level, and so the need was a little less. And then in FY22, the demand was back up, and so another 261,000 and another special consumer situation where we did a small loan. So we're making a difference in a lot of different areas, and I wanted you guys to kind of see this as more of summary information. And there's a lot more detail in what I gave you as far as the packet or the PowerPoint that we can make available. Next slide, please. We're increasing our impact in what we do, but the structure of how our money is handled is causing issues for being in compliance with those same groups I just told you about that we're able to win grant capital. As an actual financial institution, but our funds being held in fund accounting by the tribal government, the needs of the tribe and having timely audits versus what we're required to do for our certification with US Treasury in different style of accounting. I should be uploading my FY21 audit by the end of this month. I don't even have an FY20 audit yet, which we pay a separate fee for. And that's caused us to be out of compliance with US Treasury. So that's threatening these sources of capital we use to do loans to help our citizens. We're outgrowing the type of accounting we have. And we're the only financial institution I know of who doesn't have their own bank accounts. And so it makes managing, I have to manage long, and I have to try to build into delays, so that makes it incredibly difficult. So I'm hoping as we grow, between now and the next fiscal year, we can find a better way to do that with our money so that we can make the best use of it and we can attract capital as we need to. I want to tell you a couple of success stories just to kind of give an idea of the heart of why we do what we do. Just real quickly, I'm going to give this guy a fake name of Chaban. So he came to us for, we did a business loan for him in 2021, but we first met Chaban in 2017. He had personal and legal issues, no employment, and wanted to start a business. He had to first get his life back on track, his personal credit straightened out, before we could even consider him for a business loan. He couldn't even get a license. There were legal issues and things he had to take care of. He moved back to our MCN reservation. He got 2 jobs and he kept them. He got an apartment. He attended many MLF classes on management, marketing, and accounting. He got involved in his ceremonial grounds with elders who helped him with his other issues to get his life back on track. And over a period of time, we did a small loan to help him with his legal fees and other fees as a pilot. And then he paid that down and he went through the training and he did all these successful things. He did that himself. We got to be there like a teacher or a coach to help encourage him. And then in 2021, we made the original loan. He came to us in 2017 and financed a vehicle and a trailer and all this stuff for a lawn and landscaping business. So he could make that happen. So another one I want to tell you about, we'll call him John. John is a disabled person. He had assets, but no one would lend him money because all he had was disability income. And he had a trailer that wasn't fit to live in. So we helped John with a mobile home roof repair, emergency housing. He had 0 credit history at all, but we made a small loan to help him. He was timely and compliant for over 1.5 years, paying us back. During that time, we also got recognized by Cooperative Builders Alliance, and we began reporting to the 3 major credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Over that time, he paid us off. And when he asked us for another small loan to improve his land, we pulled his credit. And so no history. Now he has a 715 credit score. So just a little taste of what we do and why we do. But that's part of the help of what we need. Next slide, please. So this is kind of upcoming projects where we need immediate support. We need support to hire 3 additional staff, and we're working through the chain. We had an ARPA plan with Tara and I did that fell through. So the only part of our budget that we get from the council, and we're grateful for it, is our salaries and our fringe. Every other bit of activity, attorneys, our rent, the remodel of the facility, you'll see, we all pay that out of our revolving funds. But it's been difficult to get through the process to get these 3 people hired. And doing 4 times the volume of what we were doing 2 years ago with the same amount of people, I don't want to lose the people I've got, and I don't want to put the brakes on serving more and more citizens because we stepped up big during the pandemic. So at some point, there's, in current law 16080 allows the board to open its own accounts, but then there's a conflict with another tribal law that in the history of the fund when it was in trouble. And so hoping to work with the tribe on fixing that so that we can get our own bank accounts and we can have timely access to information. Also, if we had individual bank accounts, our existing QuickBooks systems, which you've got the financials in front of you, would talk. And just like if you or I needed to know, do I have enough money to do this or that? You could look at your app or go online and see how much money. That's impossible with fund accounting. I've got to go through 3 or 4 people, wonderful folks on Clay's team. They've been great to us, but we're outgrowing the constraints of fund accounting and the government system. We need a different system. Also, it costs us over $50,000 in extra expense to translate GASB into the FASB reports we need for our federal regulator, which is U.S. Treasury and our fund sources. I could almost pay for the extra person, one of the 3, in just what it's costing us extra to stay compliant with our funders. It also cost us one-time money because we got an award from Treasury last year, and then we got a matching award, which council about 6 months ago helped us get approved of $334,000 in American Rescue money that was directly given to grantees. Had we been able to use more current lending levels 2020 and 21 and had an audit, we would have gotten about $280,000 more money that we did not get. So that was an opportunity cost loss because I had to base it on our most recent audit, which was FY19. No one's at fault. Everybody's been wonderful to deal with, but the system is constraining what we can do to serve our system, our citizens. We need to find a better way. And we seek to self-improve all the time. So modeling best practices, Citizen Potawatomi is one of the most successful in the country. They're a good friend. We're members of Native Cdfi Network, so there's 70 other Native Cdfis across the country. We share best practices and how to serve our citizens, how to work with our tribal governments, how to work with others. But our future goals include expansion of lending products because these are client needs, a full consumer lending program, larger business loans, mortgage assistance and mortgages. HASDA leaves a lot of things off. We're working poor don't qualify by the HASDA limits, but people still need help. Many CDFIs are involved in those spaces, and they pick up right after the tribal support leaves, and it gives them an option to help them. We can meet a lot of those gaps legally as a community development financial institution, but we need freedom and we need cooperation and we need some funding. And eventually we need full depository services. We need banking that our citizens can trust. And several of my peers have already started credit unions or own banks under their CDFIs, and it's working very well. And that is somewhere how we're doing. So just a little humor there. How our clients want us to move, that's a screenshot from Smoking the Bandit. We got a Lamborghini and then a cop car. They want us to move it. You know, all our citizens want whatever they want right now. We want to do that too, but it's not possible. And part of why it's not possible is the delays built into how we're structured on our money being held. We're asking the tribe to help us build the tracks to give a better financial future as a financial institution to our citizens. Our current capacity, we've been kind of like the rusty freight train. We're doing all we can as our little team, but our needed capacity is more like that bullet train. And just an idea, but it's within striking distance. If we plan for it, within 3 to 5 years, we could be opening a depository. Just what does the tribal leadership want? What does council want? What does executive branch want? We can do that, and it's within our wheelhouse. We just have to build it together. So I just kind of wanted to give you that kind of idea. So let's go to the last slide, please. So who we are Muskogee. We're created by the tribe. We're run by tribal citizens for the tribe. We serve Muskogee citizens. We are accountable to the Muskogee Nation with our reporting, to our board, to the executive and legislative branches. That won't change. We're committed to growth by attracting more capital and expanding products. We have to increase the speed of being able to get access to money. We've had clients go through our process and have deals fall through because we couldn't get checks caught fast enough. And then whatever they were buying is no longer there. We will need in the coming months changes in legislation and governance to achieve these goals. We will need to work in new ways together to expand success and serve our citizens better. Our success as Muskogee Fund relies on maintaining a strong relationship between all of tribal leadership, our board of directors, and our staff. So I wanted to kind of lay that out, and I wanted to ask 3 questions that are not rhetorical. I really hope you guys either now or later will give us some feedback. So what excites you about hearing about what Muskogee Fund does to serve customers, about what we do? Does what we're telling you excite you about how we're stepping in and meeting that gap? Or is it so late in the afternoon nobody's
We're
excited about anything?
overloaded. We're overloaded. Tilt,
Gotcha.
tilt.
Gotcha. Well, I'm pumped about what we're doing because we're, you know, as long as it's legal, we try to do all we can to meet their needs, and we're being creative. Our performance goals and growth and plans, we want to know what leadership's concerns are, and then we want to know what suggestions you have. Sandra, I've met you and talked about our work before.
Yeah, I was just going to say or comment that I see that you guys have really done some good work. I saw your move that you've already done out south.
The old tax commission site,
Yeah, and it's all up and like you did it overnight, so to speak. Looked like, but I guess my concern is with all of the good stuff, the part that is concerning is you don't have your audits done, and who does those?
Well, we are beholden to the tribe. We have to use who the tribe audit does. And so we're one, let's say there's 100 things the tribe gets audited on. We're just one of 100. We pay our extra $12,000 to the same auditor to audit us, needing an audit within 120 days. And it can't happen because we're in the mix of all the tribal other fund accounts without separate bank accounts. I have 2 degrees in accounting and an MBA. If I had a bank statement for 10 or 11 funds we have, I could reconcile everything in a day. But we have to go through intermediaries because it's all by fund accounting. We've got line items and it's all mixed.
Right.
And it's not current. And I feel bad for them. They've got so much to keep track of that they can't give us timely stuff enough.
And I heard you say that with the QuickBooks that you would be able to do more.
Yes, yeah, it will already
it's a
talk
different
to
system than the tribe is using.
Correct, but we would replace accountability with accountability. But again, those are just choices that leadership has got to make on structure. But we have them, you know, what Munis does on approvals and tracking, we have a means of replacing that we've and it's ready. It's just, what does a tribe do? But the main thing is, Sandra, if you had a checking account, let's say for the Native American ag loans, you would want to be able to see that day if you needed to make a management decision. I can't do that. I've got to go through 5 people and hope that what they had to do with everything else they have to do, it's done. And there may be weeks of delays. And it's not their fault. They got too much to do already. We're outgrowing the system. We need our own accounts as a financial institution.
Mr. Coburn, thank you. Representative Randolph, do you have anything to say?
I'll just say real quick, it looks real good over there. The atmosphere's good. It's real clean, professional. It looks, I should say, I almost said something. I mean, it looks real nice. And the morale is good. And the people that work there are like go-getters. They're like, you know, it was refreshing for me to sit there and look around and see that, like they had a vision, they had short-term goals, they had long-term goals, and they were moving toward it, and they showed me how they were doing it. So I commend you. I think it's great.
Thank you. Yeah, so the remodeling costs of taking over the Space of Tax Commission, and we also rented what was Suddenlink next door, and we're going to call that our Native American Training Center. All of those expenses, the board elected to pay that out of our revolving fund. So we did not come to the tribe for that. We've done that ourselves to create a better space.
Speaker Lowe, do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would challenge Chris to say, you know, if you can give us a list of how we can help you. I mean, we would love to discuss it as a council body, because I feel, and I would love to see us have a credit union ourselves so we can, just like what you said, help our citizens and give them some place that they can trust to hold their money, to hold their accounts. But I mean, I think you guys do great. I always brag about you guys all over the country when I do my, with NCAI ED. But other than that, yeah, I would say let us know how we can help you. And I think we're open to it. So, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Speaker Lowe. Representative Harjo, do you have anything to say? Well, he's not answering. But I just want to make a comment. First of all, I want to, Speaker Lowe, thank you for hanging in there with us, and you that are left here. I apologize, Mr. Coburn. I had hoped that more people would stay, especially our council representatives. I know that this meeting was long. We're 2.5 hours in. I hope in the future, after being on here so long, Ms. Crawford, thank you for being on, that we can establish, Representative Hicks, thank you, that we can establish a way where we can hear all of the entities and the businesses of our tribe and not be so long because it is important. I know you're passionate about it. I can tell, and I can tell by the success that you've had. So I appreciate you for hanging in there with us. And again, representatives who did hang in there with us. If there's not anything else,
May I ask something, Madam Chair?
Sure.
16080 allows us to appear before BF&J to report. Can we be invited more often? And then we can give you better updates.
Of course. Of course. You're probably the first one that I've heard to ask.
I can't, the last 15% of my goals, I can't do without you guys.
Yeah.
We got to do it together.
Work together.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that, and yes, we will be inviting you back sooner, but I do like Speaker Lowe's suggestion about we need to know what you need. And now we have Representative Randolph as the ex officio, and, you know, he's attending the meeting, so he is our conduit to you.
There are structure options for administration and council to hash out, whether it is a complete freestanding entity or something in between. There are some options I can give leadership and for you guys to understand pros and cons.
Thank you, Mr. Coburn. The next item on the agenda is announcements. Are there any announcements? Hearing none. Next item on the agenda is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn from Representative Golden. We have a second from Representative Randolph. Benediction, Representative Randolph, if you would, please.
Lord, we're thankful for today, for all that's transpired here today. We ask that you give us strength, Lord, that you clear our minds and touch our hearts, Lord, that you would guide and direct us in all that we do, and that you would give us traveling mercies wherever we might be traveling tonight. And we just thank you for your love, for your mercy, for your protection, and all the good things that you give us, Lord. Say all these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Representative Randolph. We are adjourned at 5:30.